Hey, this is Steve Stine from guitarzoom, and today what I'm going to be doing is showing you a pedal called the Pitchfork by Electro Harmonix. Now this pedal is really cool, and I use it a lot when I need to detune my guitar, but I don't want to physically detune my guitar. And I've tried a lot of different pedals, and there's some that are really awesome and some that are a little less awesome, but what it really comes down to is creativity and tracking. Those are the two really big things. This pedal does all kinds of different things, and I'm going to show you just some of the things that it does that I use it for. But it'll do, if you hook up like an expression pedal, you can do Digitech whammy stuff and all sorts of different things. And I don't really use those kinds of effects, so I'm not going to be showing you that. I'm just going to be showing you some of the basic things that I use it for. So basically, when you look at the pedal, which you can see in my camera shot there, you've got a blend button, which if you put it all the way down, you would not hear the signal at all. If you put it 50%, you'd hear some of your guitar unaffected, and then some of the effect. And if you turn it to 100%, which is what I'm going to be showing you today, you'll be able to hear only the affected signal, okay? So next, what you've got is the shift button, and that's where you're going to be choosing what distances you want to tune it up or down. You could actually go both directions with this pedal. And then you've got this little knob in the middle here, this little switch that says dual. And what you can do is if you push it up, then what it does is it pitches the guitar upward. If you put it down, of course, it pitches downward. And if you put it in the dual position, then it adds both the up and the down interval that's being added. It'll add them both. Then you've got this latch button, and the latch button, I'll show you all these things, but the latch button, what the latch button does is if you have it in the up position, it's a temporary thing. So when I press on the button, it only affects it while I'm pressing on the button, and when I let go, it stops. When I have it in the down position, okay, I think it's the down position. I don't ever switch it, but when it's in the down position, then when I hit the button, the effect stays on until I depress the button again. So let's just get started here, and let me show you a little bit about what I've got. Now I'm going to be using this Tech 21 RK5 as my distortion and my clean channels. And what I've done is I've removed the reverb and the delay and everything else, so I just have a clean channel. Mostly clean anyway. And then, of course, I have distortion. So those are the two things I'm going to be showing you, just so you can get an idea of how this pedal works and how well it tracks and see what you think of it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start off with the shift button all the way down on the D. And what that means is detune. It's a micro detune. And let me show you what happens here. So kind of cool, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to move up, and this is where the detuning will begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this note. Now you hear all that's happening there? It's because this dual is on right now. So what I need to do is decide, do I want to pitch up or down? Well, I'm going to show you both of them. So I'm going to pitch it down now, and you're going to hear it. You're hearing it drop down a minor second or a half step. Okay? Now the key with this, with any pedal that you're going to get for trying to tune your guitar down with a pedal, is how well it tracks. That's what you're always looking for. So what I always try and do, there's really two things. Well, there's three things. Playing multiple notes at the same time and see how well it tracks a chord, all the notes playing through the pedal at the same time. The other thing that I use is faster playing to see how well it's tracking as the notes are being played. If I play slower, a lot of times it has more time to track. So if I play a little faster, you know, just something, I can see how well it's tracking. And the third thing that I like to do is bending, to see how well it's actually going to track a bend. Okay, so I'm going to stay clean just for now, and I'm going to hit this. See how well it's going to track. Now remember, the actual guitar tone that you're hearing is coming from my RK5, so your guitar amp is going to sound a little bit different, and I would certainly suggest trying it out with your amp and see what you think of it, whether you're going to run it, you know, in front of your amp or whatever you might do. I'm just running direct into it, and then it's running into the RK5, and then it's running out into my recording device. So that's what a chord would sound like. This is pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to play just a little bit of single note stuff. Seems to do a good job, right? And then I'm going to do a little bit of bending. Let's see if I hear any hiccups in there as I'm playing. Now, I'm going to switch over to distortion so we can check that out a little bit as well. Okay. Again, it seems like it's doing a really good job. Again, I've used this a number of times, and I think it works great. But it's always, you know, relative to what you think. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start switching the intervals here, so you can hear how the same thing is going to be happening. It's just the pitch is going to go down. Okay. So now we're going to move to a major section. Okay. Major third. Okay, and it just keeps going. Perfect fourth. Now, if I wanted more pinch harmonics, I could bring my gain up a little bit, but I'm trying to keep the gain down a little bit just so you can hear how it actually sounds. Although as it gets lower, of course, it starts getting heavy on its own, right? Perfect fifth. You know, it does a really good job of tracking. And it just keeps going, okay? As low as you feel like going, it's going to go down there. Now, I can even go down an octave. So let's say you wanted to do some bass lines, but you didn't have a bass. I'm going to shut the distortion off there. And again, I can adjust my guitar for whatever tone I'm looking for, but the point is whether or not it's actually tracking properly. That sounds pretty cool. Now it'll go down 2 octaves and 3 octaves. But I'll never use 2 octave and 3 octave, but that's the way it works. Now, there's something else I want to show you here, which is I'm going to go back to the beginning, and now I'm going to pitch it up like you would be using a capo. So I'm going to go back to the minor second, which is a half step higher, and I'm going to put it all the way up, that dual button, that switch in the middle, I'm putting it all the way up. So now what it's going to do is change the pitch upward. Okay, so now you could start using it as a capo. Or just cool little things, you know, if you want higher pitched sounds. You know, for writing, just different ideas, things like that. There's just a ton of really cool stuff you can do, and it does a really good job, again, of tracking. Okay. That's really the reason I would use it going upward is simply for, you know, emulating a capo. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the dual button. Okay, so now it's going to be using both the high and the low octave, or not, I shouldn't say octave, interval at the same time. So I'm going to go over here to this 1, which is going to add an octave up and an octave down. It's a really neat sound. Now I'm going to show you the blend button here too. If I turn it all the way to the left, now I'm just back to my guitar. Right? If I turn it 50%, now you're hearing all 3. You're hearing my normal signal plus the affected signals, the high and low octave. And if I go to 100%, of course, now you're just hearing the high and low octave. So that's sort of how the blend would work, depending on what it is that you might be looking for. Now, if I go down, let's say I go to a major second here. Now I'm going to switch over to distortion. Now this you can just have some fun with. There's all kinds of different things, but I want you to notice how some of these, depending on what your usage might be, some of them are quite functional and some of them really aren't. So let me show you what I mean. Now you might be looking for that sound. I don't know that I would use that for anything, but this, going to the major second, I could see myself jamming with something like that. Here's major third. Again, I have it on 100%. I have it on dual, so it's having both the high and the low interval at a major third we're at right now. Not really something I would use, but if I go to the perfect fourth, and again, that bending tracking is quite nice. So you see how that works. Now, I'm going to switch this down. Now, I've got it back on a perfect fifth lower, and it's just on the low, so I'm just getting the 1 pitch. Because I want to show you what happens with the latch button. So if I turn that latch button, so now it's in the up position, I do believe. See, now all it's doing is just temporarily it's changing the pitch, which would be a really neat thing as well. And this is where you could hook up an expression pedal and do all kinds of different things with this as well. But that's what that does. But again, that's not something I really, in my playing, that I really use. It doesn't mean it's not cool. It doesn't mean you couldn't use it. It's just there isn't much for me to demonstrate with it because it isn't really something that I do, where I use it more in a traditional sense to be able to detune. So anyway, that gives you a little bit of a little insight in what this pitchfork by Electro Harmonix does. Hopefully that helps you a little bit, and you can decide whether or not it's a good pedal for you to try out and maybe purchase. So take care, stay positive, keep practicing, and I'll talk to you soon.